having boundaries with the bullshit patterns that ego creates is something that I really want to speak to today, because truthfully, I am tired. I am fucking tired of giving attention, energy, and fucking focus, and even identifying with these bullshit, honestly, dramas of the ego. And an area where this especially shows up for me is in my deeply committed relationship. When I say deeply committed relationship, I mean the relationship that I've had for around 5 years, that I am still deeply desiring to show up to again and again and again. Even as I'm changing, he's changing, everything's changing, the way we relate is changing, the way we're, showing up in our togetherness is definitely very different than when we first got together. But even still, there's still this genuine desire to be there for each other and to support each other. And there is still this deep feeling of love. And even though it might look different now than it did before. And so something I've noticed is that there's a certain pattern of ego. Ego knows the areas where it can easily try to capture and get attention. And ego knows the areas where it can start creating some sort of problem or drama. And truthfully, I am so fed up and over it because it's not nourishing to me. It only creates suffering. And if something is creating suffering right now in my experience, I know for a fact it is not true. I know that the reason I'm suffering is because I'm identifying with something, a story, or some sort of image that the mind is clinging to that is simply not fucking true. Or I'm identifying, I am feeling fear, for example. Fear, what is fear? In my opinion, it is false evidence appearing real. And so for myself, in this relationship, it has been really frustrating and annoying to again and again sometimes find ourselves in conversations that are actually not nourishing, that are ego-based, that are in a way like I don't feel like we're in our truth and in our center. We're more in our triggers or just false stories that for some reason maybe I have, developed an attachment to certain stories because I've even identified with those stories. Before in the past, I have given a lot of attention to these stories because I've actually believed that those stories is who I am. I've thought that I am that and I need to give importance to this because it's real. But now I'm like really clearly seeing it's not real, it's not who I am. It doesn't have any connection to the essence of and the truth of me. And really how I desire to relate and connect and to communicate and talk is when I'm feeling that I'm in my center and I am self-resourced and I am grounded and I have also my basic needs have been met. Especially if I'm gonna have a more sensitive or challenging conversation around a sensitive subject, I think it's really important that I have checked in with myself and with the man that I'm gonna talk to. Have we gotten our basic needs met, like sleep, food, and whatever else? But because if we haven't gotten that, then it's pretty easy sometimes to fall into the trap of getting into some sort of ridiculous conversation that really is, I'm just not into it. And someone might say, like, there's another story that I have, which is, oh, but this is what we have to do. If we're gonna be in a committed relationship, we need to, and in a mature relationship, we need to show up for these conversations. We need to do the thing that's right, which is continue to have this conversation, even though obviously I'm feeling we're not even coming at it from the right space. So my new boundary is that I'm not doing that no more. I'm not fucking doing that anymore. I am not gonna show up for a conversation that is feeling like it's simply and purely ego based. Because I don't want to try to fix or figure something out from that space. Nothing can be figured out from that space. The one who's trying to figure it out, or the one who's arguing for its rightness, is not the one I want to live from anymore at all. So a part of me is like, it might sound immature or avoidant or something to want to just actually end the conversation and take space, but truthfully, that's what I desire to do now. And my new boundary is, if I'm sensing and feeling that I'm coming from that space of projecting my stories and projecting an image of an enemy onto my partner, then I do not want to talk to him. I just don't. If anything, at some point there can be a talking of revealing all these projections and revealing the image that I have of him. But if I'm already in that space and doing that, then I don't want to continue. I just want to have space, and I want to take loving space. I want to exhale our relationship so that I can come back to what feels more real and true, which is that he's not an enemy, and these stories that I'm creating about him are not real, are not true, and I have simply had a pattern in the past of projecting an enemy outside of myself, when really the only enemy, if there's even such a thing as an enemy, is my own addiction and attachment and identification to a self that does not exist, that is not real. I'm not here to do that, and I'm fed up with it. So anything that is that, I will say no to. And I'm all for conversations and communication, and especially if things are feeling challenging, or there's discomfort, or there's sensitivities or feelings are involved. I'm all for showing up for that, but only if I can do it in a way where I am in my center and I am in what's true and what's real. And that is always going to be have this feeling of love's presence within the pain, within the sensitivity, within the vulnerability, within the conflict. We are feeling love's presence, and we are aware that now we can have this conversation, and we can bring anything that is challenging or sensitive to this space, and we know that it's going to be held by the presence of love that we are in, and the presence of truth and love that we are in right now. There is absolutely no point in continuing the conversation if we're not feeling that, because it will only ever lead to that which, in my experience, I've seen ego really likes it and gets off to get to that point where it's like, well, fuck you then, and like, I'm just gonna we're done, and like it gets off on it. There's like some sort of fucking ego like masturbating to that shit, that kind of drama content, which truthfully, I'm just not interested. It's fucking old news for me. Like, that's not where we're at right now. I don't want to deplete this physical body. I don't want to drain the energy, the life force on those types of things. So from now on, it might sound cold, it might sound harsh. I'm just a fucking no to that. But I am a yes to conversations that are intentional, where we have both checked in with ourselves. Am I open to a conversation like this right now? Am I open to touching and opening up this subject matter or this topic? Am I self-resourced enough to move into this space that might be a sensitive one? Because truthfully, in committed relationships, in ones that I'm in longer time, it's like those are the spaces sometimes where the deepest pains and traumas and thorns and wounds are highlighted and revealed. And so I think it's really important that we check in with ourselves to see, am I really open for this right now? Can I move into this realm with my deep, deep, deep connection and remembering of what is true and what is real right now? And that is the presence, that is love. That is love. And because otherwise, if we can't move into that space with love, then it's just gonna, in my opinion, it just hurts. It feels like eating a food that is toxic. It feels like engaging in something that is depleting and just tiring and heavy. And I'm a big fucking no to that right now. And for the rest of my life. So I'm setting boundaries with my own ego that is so loving the drama of things and loves creating problems out of nothing. And you know, the ego sometimes, I mean, I think there's definitely a healthy level of ego. I'm not saying that ego is like always toxic, but in my experience, I see ego is that which really loves to not be present, but to be in story and to be in projection, and to also create an enemy outside of itself, as if like, and ego likes to make an enemy outside and then also want to like tell that enemy outside of itself that it needs to be different so that everything could be okay. Yes, I believe in sharing things and, you know, reflecting back to people how their embodiment is impacting me, but it has to be done from a very different place than from like a place of, you are so fucking bad, look how you are making me feel. And just really that projection and that storytelling that we do in our mind and then identify with it and believe it's true. It's just something something that I need to constantly, again and again, call myself out on. So especially when it comes to the partnerships or like the relating with anyone that I more deep or like more intimately, relating with. So I'm calling myself out on this, and I'm saying that I'm feeling very complete with that level of communication, ego-based communication, judgment-based, enemy-based, making someone wrong, already having a story in the mind that you are wrong. No fucking point of talking to this person because I'm not being in truth. And I don't want to waste my time with that. So that's all I got to say today. Simply sharing this because it's helpful for me. And thank you for listening. Ciao, guys, and have a blessed day.